Hey everyone, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. I have something extremely special for you today, and it's going to be in the second part of the video, so please stay tuned until that. But right now, what's happening on the front lines, and I have good news. So, first and foremost, I've been very skeptical about Ukrainian activities on the banks of Kherson, and I've been contacted and provided some videos and evidence that I cannot really share because right now I haven't been able to see it on any Russian channels. But Ukrainians have found a way how to get equipment across Dnipro. For the sake of the OPSEC, I will not again be saying, but what I can say is that we need to watch this direction very, very closely. There might be interesting developments. So my pessimism that I was having a little bit about this direction is now very significantly crumbled after what I saw. Then we'll talk about Avdiivka. And Avdiivka is really great. I've talked about the situation here quite a lot. Russians have been trying to attack mostly by using meat waves. What happened is initial Russian push with armor allowed them to penetrate certain Ukrainian barriers. After that, Ukrainians were able to adapt and get reinforcements into the area. So when Russians tried to do additional pushes, Ukrainian artillery just shelled the living hell out of Russians. They decided, okay, let's try to do Bakhmut like we did with Wagner. Let's send in just troops, and then these troops will be moving on their own. The problem for Russian, as I indicated many days ago when I was covering this, is that Ukraine now has significantly more artillery, and Ukraine has significantly more specifically cluster artillery that targets really well against any kind of meat wave attacks, even if they are supported by some light armor. The reports from Russians from the direction are that whenever they're trying to attack, they are now encountering two problems constantly. Problem number one is that once they're trying to attack, then Ukrainian artillery works so well that almost no one makes it to any kind of Ukrainian positions, because that initial push made Russians get some certain advantage. They were able, for example, to reach the railroad, which is quite important. However, getting past that railroad is now problematic for Russians. And as soon as they try to they instantly get targeted by Ukrainian artillery. Beyond that, we're talking about Terikon, which is this slag heap that is here. Well, the more I looked up about what this Terikon is, the more I understood that it's actually not a very good tactical position at all. While there are certain paths, for example, a scout or two or a small unit group to get on top of that Terikon, it cannot be really used as an elevated platform because actually the way Terikons are, they are quite dangerous for even civilians or any kind of personnel or even people just generally, except for orcs, to be on top of it because it actually has some like not holes but like empty spaces, and sometimes there are possibilities for cave-ins, sometimes there are like pockets of air that just cave in, so it's a very dangerous place. And actually a lot of kids that are living in areas where those kind of terracons are, they're always warned not to play on top of them because it's dangerous. All in all, Terracon doesn't really provide much advantage at all as besides a position where you can stick your flag and that's it. However, getting past the Terracon into the Ukrainian held positions in the fortified area that is located right over here, which is the heavy industrial area, they cannot even reach that. They still cannot reach that. And Ukrainian commanders from the area has stated that this, motherfuckers, is not Bakhmut. This is not just a city that was turned into a fortification. This is a fortification that we've been building up for 8 years. If you think that you can just stroll in and get yourself moving ahead, you got another thing coming for you. That was basically the quote that I get from the commanders of the area. Extremely encouraging words from them. I was very happy to hear, and the fact that we see Russians cannot advance any further is demonstrating that indeed right now situation is very well under control. The second problem that Russians are encountering is that a lot of mobilized troops that were participating in fighter battles before they're being sent into the area. And then when the first waves of advances that Russians are storming, they're doing it in multiple waves. So the first wave is actually, it's so-called Storm Z or Storm Z units. Storm Z units are mostly prisoners, like some people that broke some kind of Russian law. So it's a penal battalions. It's battalions that are just being sent. They usually don't have a lot of combat experience, and they're just being sent to go attack Ukrainian positions. However, the second line is more of a core mobilized men that were seeing combat and know how bad it is for over a year now. And now Russia is struggling at a lot of those units when they don't see these Storm Zs completely overtake Ukrainian positions. They are resisting to move. These Russian mobilized soldiers that, I mean, like, it's kind of unfair to call them mobilized because they do have now experience. They're just more of a regular soldiers of the Russian military. But you get my point. The experienced men, they don't want to go if they are not completely 100,000% sure that whatever the deadheads over there did, that they captured the position and it's now more or less safe to get there. This is the two problems that are absolutely devastating this new old Russian tactic of just sending it meat waves. That's why destruction of Wagnerites was such a big problem, because while there were brutal that they sent the prisoners, they were also mercenaries, so they were also agreeing to what they're going to be doing, and they were coming as a second wave in Bakhmut. Right now, Russia is struggling both with the first wave getting it to the positions because of the cluster munitions, and the second wave just completely removing themselves from the equation and saying, if it's not captured, I'm not going. Additionally, some good news appeared with the recent videos. It seems that Russians, while they were trying to push forward really well towards Stepove, towards the north of the chemical plant, they haven't fully secured their flanks. And right now we're seeing video confirmations of Ukrainian operating over a kilometer deep in supposedly Russian-controlled zone. So it seems that Ukrainians used this highway to try to push and strike and undercut Russian offensive from the north. Now, I don't expect Ukrainians to fully succeed, because otherwise it will be already all over the news and it would be the biggest things ever. But this definitely creates a lot of problems for Russians, and definitely makes sense that Ukrainians are trying to undercut any kind of efforts. To put the long story short and finish up this segment, Avdiivka is fine. Russians are not having a good time. Russians made a huge fuck up, and they're gonna pay for it. Hey, Super Future Georgie here. I thought it will be one video that I'm gonna make today, but it's just way too long. So I'm gonna release this video, and then I'm gonna continue working because there's still editing to do for that video. And I'm gonna release it maybe an hour or an hour and a half after the video that you're watching right now is uploaded, so you can finish watching. Thank you so much for watching this. Stay with the map updates, support Ukraine, Slava Ukraini, guys, and the next video is coming up shortly. I will leave a link here for it after that.